The Lonely Skyscraper, written by Jenny Hawkesworth and illustrated by Emanuel Schongut. This book was published in 1980 by Methuen Children's Books Limited. There was once a very tall skyscraper who stood by himself in the middle of many roads. The roads went over and under each other and round and round. Sometimes they disappeared into the ground and came up again a long way off. All the skyscraper could see was roads stretching into the distance. During the day, cars and buses whizzed by and lorries thundered past in all directions. The skyscraper was full of people who worked in him. They banged his doors and talked and laughed. They zoomed up and down in lifts and swished in and out of his automatic doors. Some of the people scrubbed and polished him until he gleamed more than ever before. But he was sad, because he was nobody's home. At night, the skyscraper stood alone, feeling big and echoey inside. It got cold and dark and silent, and he was very, very lonely. One clear day in early spring, the skyscraper was looking at his view when from his very top windows he saw something green beyond the endless grey of the winding roads. "I wonder what that is," he thought to himself. He had never seen the countryside, so he didn't know what it looked like. But every day after that, he gazed into the distance at the thin line of green. He could see houses far away, small and neat enough to fit under the trees. It all looked so peaceful. "If only I could live there," sighed the skyscraper. That night, he made up his mind to go. First, he rocked to one side. All the pencils and typewriters flew across the room and crashed against the walls. "Ouch!" he said. Then he rocked to the other side. All the typewriters and pencils flew back across to the opposite walls. "Ouch!" he said again. Next he took his first step. Crunch! The noise of the skyscraper walking was louder than the noise of all the cars and lorries put together. By sunrise he had walked across all the grey roads and had just reached the beginning of the countryside that he was longing to see. For the first time in his life, the skyscraper heard birds singing. He smelled the fresh spring flowers as they opened towards the sun. He passed trees with more green leaves on them than he could count. The muddy country path felt cool and comfortable after walking on the hard city streets. As the sun rose, so did the skyscraper's spirits. Boom, crash, tinkle he went as he walked along. The sun's beams glinted and flashed on his many windows. He had changed from grey to pink and orange, with gleams of green where grass and trees shone in his glass. If he'd known how to whistle, he certainly would have done, from sheer happiness. Soon he came to a field with a stream running round it and some sleepy black and white cows munching on the thick grass. What a lovely place to live, thought the skyscraper, and he walked right through the fence into the middle of the field. "Help!" cried the cows. "A monster!" And they all ran away. A few minutes later, an angry farmer with a red face came running down the road waving a large stick. "Get off my land!" he shouted, and he beat his stick against the skyscraper's gleaming front doors. Of course, the skyscraper hardly noticed the stick, although it was heavy, but he didn't like feeling unwanted, so he moved away slowly. "Where can I go?" he wondered. I'm too big to live here." He felt huge and ugly in the pretty green field. Suddenly a voice said, "Don't tread on me." The skyscraper bent down his top floors and gazed at the ground. He saw a tiny brown bird. "I'll show you a place to live," said the bird. "It's the most beautiful place in the world. Let me come in and I'll take you there." Swoosh! The skyscraper opened his shiny doors and the little bird hopped in. As spring turned into summer, they travelled on. When it rained, the skyscraper went boom, splash, tinkle, splosh through all the muddy puddles. At last they came to a great forest. "Here we are," cried the little bird. "How shall I get through all those trees?" asked the skyscraper. But the trees bent aside to let him pass, and he went boom, tinkle, crunch, swish over the grassy floor. They came to a space in the middle of the forest. "This will do," said the little bird. So the skyscraper sat down. Crump, boom, bump. Then he arranged himself comfortably on the moss and looked around in all directions to see what was near him. From his front windows he saw rolling hills and fields with sheep and cattle grazing quietly in the afternoon sun. From one side he saw a sea with a steamer trailing smoke along the horizon and fishing boats and seagulls. From the other side he saw a village with leafy lanes winding between small cottages and gardens full of pretty flowers. Far behind him he saw the grey line of the distant city. So much to see and hear and smell, thought the skyscraper. When summer was over, birds arrived to nest in his trays. Squirrels stored nuts in his paper cups. Mice lived in drawers and cabinets. Pencils were nibbled up for nests. Badgers slept on sofas, and moles tunnelled under the thick carpets. At bedtime, rabbits wrapped their babies in typewriter ribbons. Small insects were bathed in the inkwells. Baby voles cut their teeth on files marked "Important," and little mice were tucked into all sorts of beds. The skyscraper soon got used to all the furry tickles and bumps, but one winter day there seemed to be more activity than usual. "What is happening now?" he asked the little brown bird. "We're getting ready for a party," she replied. "A skyscraper warming party." "But I'm warm enough already," said the skyscraper, who did not feel the cold with all the animals inside him. But the bird had already flown off to find her friends. In the main dining room, all the animals were busy laying out a tempting feast on the shiny tabletops. Before long, the skyscraper began to glow in the dazzling light of the setting sun. It was time for the party to begin. Soon sounds of merrymaking rang through the snowy forest, and the skyscraper was amazed to find himself growing warmer and warmer. It was a special sort of warmth which spread from his top floors right down to his basement. Even his draughty halls felt snug, and his windy staircase cosy. He remembered when he had stood by himself at night, feeling cold, sad, and lonely. Suddenly he laughed out loud. Now he knew what a skyscraper warming party really meant. At last, he was somebody's home.